Have you ever wanted to play a poison build, but it just kinda sucked? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you a poison build and skills that will take poison to the next level. So the issue typically with poison is that it doesn't really have burst damage effect when it's applied, like bleed or Scarlet Rot or even frostbite. So then you have to rely on it slowly poisoning a boss to death, which really can take forever. This makes it really ineffective against bosses compared to other builds. However, there are two weapon skills that will actually make poison good. One is called Poison Moth's Flight, the other is called the Flower Blooms Twice. Poison Moth's Flight is a weapon skill that does a charge attack that applies poison. A lot of it actually, 250 to be the exact, is the value. But we have already established that poison on its own sucks. It is the second effect of this weapon that makes the skill good. If the target is already poisoned, it instead will remove the poison and deal 250 plus 5% of the target's max HP as extra damage on hit. Now that's pretty solid because as quickly as we can apply poison now and use this weapon skill is as fast as we can proc it. So it essentially turns poison into more of a bleed style build, which is super cool. But the Flower Blooms Twice is even better in my opinion, except it has a slight difference. So first off, when you use its special, it actually applies Scarlet Rot. Now I know that sounds odd, but the second effect still does the same thing. It consumes either poison or the Scarlet Rot effect and causes it to do a % damage. Now that seems odd that, why I would say Flower Blooms Twice, but what this gives us is versatility. If something is resistant to poison, then we are actually applying Scarlet Rot, so we're still able to apply something that can still proc and do this build. But the build gets even better. Now that we have a weapon skill that actually makes poison good, what weapon should we use?
So this is going to depend on where you are at in the game, but the first thing that might come to your mind is Serpent Bone Blade or Venomous Fang. However, neither of these are actually very good options for a poison build because let me put it like this. So Serpent Bone Blade, you do not really get all that much poison scaling out of it because it does not have an arcane scaling, and poison does seem to go up with arcane. And you also cannot infuse Ashes of War, so you can't change the type of weapon it is to give it some type of bigger scaling or to make it poison to just do increased poison damage. Venomous Fang, you can use the Poison Blooms Twice, but the issue with that is that by the time you're able to get the Poison Blooms or the Flower Blooms Twice, you'll already be in the DLC, which means you'll also be able to get the Blackstone Whetblade, so you don't really need... So you're not really going to need any of these. That's why I'm actually going to recommend using the Nagakiba or the Uchigatan. The reason for this is because whenever you turn one of these into poison, you get the added benefit of having a poison scaling and having a bleed scaling, because when you make something poison, it does actually give it an arcane scaling, so you can actually ramp up the amount of poison that it does. On top of that, because bleed also scales with arcane, it also helps benefit your bleed a little bit. Now, the cool thing about the Uchigatan is that you actually can get this at the very beginning of the game. You can either start as the Samurai class, or you can just go into the Death Touch Catacombs in Stormhill Limgrave, and then you can find it in there. So that means you can actually get dual-wielding Uchigatangas very quickly. And Poison Moth's Flight actually drops in Caelid very early on in the game. All you have to do is be able to take out a Knight's Cavalry Rider, and if you can do that, you can actually get the weapon skill. So that's actually pretty sweet, and that means you can do this build very early on. Because whenever you put the Poison Moth's Flight on there, it's going to automatically turn the weapon into poison. So all you really have to do is find a Lost Ashes of War, and then you can duplicate it to put it onto your other one. Which means, boom, there you go, you have it super early on, even though you don't even have the Black Whetblade. And then as you progress through the game, you can go ahead and do Yura's questline, so you can get the Nagakiba, and then you can have a pretty solid setup for the rest of the game weapon-wise.
But why do we want bleed in this build? Well, by utilizing bleed in addition to the poison, we gain access to the Whiteface Mask and Lord of Blood's Exultation. This will give us a 30% attack power boost. When you combine that with the Lord of Rot's Exultation, which gives another 20% attack power boost, whenever we cause poison or Scarlet Rot, we're going to have a massive 50% attack power boost from those three items alone. And we also get the added benefit of, if we are not able to consume our poison for some reason, we also get to proc bleed on bosses as well. And then on bosses that aren't resistant to anything, that means you get to proc your poison, you get to proc your bleed, and if you have the flower blooms twice, you can even potentially be proccing Scarlet Rot and stuff on them, right? And Scarlet Rot is cool because it does have a little bit of a burst effect when it is applied. Not as much as bleed, but it does still have some. And remember, we don't lose anything by running bleed, so there's no reason to not run it on the weapon too. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what the talismans are we're using. So we're using Kindred of Rot's Exulatation, raises attack power by 20% when poisoning or rot occurs in the vicinity. We're using Lord of Blood's Exulatation, gives us 20% attack power boost when bleed happens in the vicinity. Alright, so this is the run down here. To get to it, you just got to go over here, find this well, hop on down, open up a gate. There's a couple rats in here, just run past them. Then after you do that, you will be over at the underground roadside side of Grace, I believe. You don't need to fight any of the big guys. You really just want to walk down to the left. You can even just jump down off that and immediately walk into this room here for the side of Grace. Okay, so for this, you need to just be careful of the shrimp and these little imp guys, but you gotta run down into the catacombs. And then go through the catacombs, and then kill the boss at the end, and then that will get you your Lord of Blood's Exultation. The catacombs themselves are not particularly dangerous. You know, just follow the walkthrough, all the enemies will be there that you'll end up running into, so yeah. Then we are going to be using Rotten Wingsword Insignia. This is going to give us 13% increased attack power successive hits. And then you have the option of either doing Millicents Prothesis, or you can do the Dragoncrest Greatshield Talisman if you would like more physical damage defense, since this is an up-close and personal build. Millicents Prothesis giving us 11% increased damage as we do successive hits, and then plus 5 dexterity, and then we have the Dragoncrest Greatshield giving us 20% physical damage buff to give us some nice defense. Alright, so all of these are gotten in the Halig tree, and you actually have to do Millicent's questline to get the Rotten Wingsword Insignia. So if you follow the link in the description, it'll take you all the way down here to the Drainage channel and show you how to get both of the Millicent questline ones, the Rotten Wingsword and the Millicent's Prothesis. This right here is going to be where you need to go to get the Dragoncrest Greatshield Talisman. You just walk out over here, hop up on some branches from the Drainage channel, then we're going to go jump into a roof, and it'll be in a chest over there. Keep in mind, when you do the Millicent's Prothesis all you have to do is kill her after you get to the Windmill Village step. Now we're going to use the White Mask. It'll give us a 10% attack power boost whenever we inflict bleed. You get this in Moog's Coliseum area. You just need to go down into that Lake of Blood over by where the rune farm spot is, if you're familiar with that. Run around in that Lake of Blood until you get invaded. I'll show you a spot here that I know you can guaranteed get invaded here on the map. But yeah, and then once you get invaded, you kill him, and then you will get the white mask. Keep in mind, if you have killed Moog already, you will not get invaded, and you will not be able to get this mask. Alright, so to get the Rakshasa armor, we're going to be using this. This is going to give us a 6% attack power increase. So you're going to need to kill the golden hippopotamus. You can walk in through the front gate, or you can also alternatively go the longer way through the church district. That can also get you here. If you go that way, you just have to jump down into the storehouse, and you'll come out on this bridge to the left. But come out here, run over, go down this bridge. Now, there's also a painting here. If you haven't done the dragon heart thing, you take this painting over to Jagged Peaks after you get it, and that's how you get the dragon heart. So pick that up if you don't have it. Hit that invisible wall that's right there, and then you're going to go down into this coffin. That's going to take you out to, I believe, a watering hole, or like castle watering hole or something like that. Yeah. Site of Grace. Now, careful, there is one of those furnace guys down here. Just run right around him. And keep on going. We're just going to run downstream, down this river a little bit. Pick up that Site of Grace. Careful, there is a jump there. There's a couple of them. I accidentally have fallen off of that before when doing this run. So, keep going. Then swing a left here. And you will see it if you look down over this ledge. You can see it down there. You want to go down into that mausoleum. So you have to come over here and then drop down. There are some bird enemies, so if you're not fast, they will kind of catch you off guard. And then also, if you are still looking for fragments, if you go down to the right, there's a couple hippopotamuses there, but this is where you get it at. Alright, next up, we're going to want Golden Vow as an incantation. It's going to give us a 50% damage increase and 10% damage mitigation, so from the Road of Iniquity, Site of Grace, I believe, we want to go and make a quick little run over to this shack, and it's going to be sitting on a dead body here. Just be careful of the invader that's going to pop up after you pick it up. Next up, we're going to want Flame Grant Me Strength. This is just going to give us a 20% physical damage buff, which is why I use it. And it's also very easy to get. It's just over in Kindred. You don't even have to go inside of this little fort thing over here. You just have to go right outside of it. It's a little bit of a run though. There also are going to be some archer guys up here, so be careful of those. They're going to shoot down like a rain of arrows at you, but it's very slow moving. Then come back over here, wrap around, and then it's going to be sitting in between these two cart things. For our crystal tier, we are going to be using the Thorny Crack crystal tier. You get this in the consecrated snowfields off of a putrid avatar. It's going to increase our damage by up to 20% depending on how many successive attacks we do, so it's pretty sweet for a build that revolves around attacking quickly. And again, this is in the consecrated snowfields, which is a place, if you follow my Millicents questline video, you will also unlock, because you have to go through this place in order to get to the Halig tree. So if you're wondering how to get here, just watch that video below. It'll show you how to get the stuff to get here. I've already killed the avatar, but it's right here. Next up, we just have the Opaline Hardtear. This one's going to be fairly easy to get. You get it over here in Kindred. This is going to boost our damage negation, which is going to be pretty nice since we are an up close and personal build. So just go ahead, go to Fort Faroth. Run down, it's at this Erd tree that's right next to it. There's a little spirit spring you can drop down on, and just wrap around here, kill this Erd tree avatar, and then wham bam, you'll have it. Alright, so to get the Uchigatan, we're going to go into the Death Touch Catacombs here in Lindell. I don't believe you have to complete this, you just have to go run around and it'll be on something's body. But do keep in mind, if you start with Samurai, you can actually get another one of these, so this would be a good way to get a dual wield setup going. All you'd have to do then is find a Lost Ash of War to duplicate the Poison Moth Flight, and then you can do this build early on. Yep, so you don't have to kill all the skeletons like I am. I just do it because there's actually a lot of them in here, so depending on your level, like if it's early on, you'll probably want to go a little bit slower and methodically through here. Otherwise, you might just get, absolutely destroyed by, 8 skeletons chasing you, because they seem to be everywhere. And make sure you hit them twice, because they do not die the regular way. And then there's also going to be some, glovewort and stuff in here, and there it is. Alright, so to get the Nagakiba, this is going to be the first and second spots that Yura is at. This is going to be a quest line. You don't have to do the quest line. I do recommend doing it because you do get a couple cool items like Eleanor's Pole Blade. But he is going to be either here or here if you are early on in the game. If you have progressed to the mountaintop of the Giants, he is going to be at the mountaintop of the Giants. But I'm going to show you all the spots he will be depending on where you have encountered him at. So the first spot is going to be the bottom green circle. This is going to be the very beginning of the game, and then the second spot's going to be if you have gotten Reduvia and killed the invader by Murkwater Cave. Now, if at any point you kill him, at any point in this questline when you see him, you will get the Nagakiba, so you can do that if that's all you are interested in. But these are going to be the first two spots. Alright, next up, this is going to be his spot at Rhea Lucaria Academy. So from after you teleport into Rhea Lucaria Academy, you just need to turn around and run through the portal. Do not like exit the area, just run through the portal onto that broken bridge, and he's going to be down at the end. You should end up finding a summon sign, and then when you find the summon sign, that'll allow you to summon him to help him. This is assuming that you have talked to him at all and done like the first couple parts of his quest line. Alright, now this is going to be if you have done his quest line and you did it, this is going to be where he will be at next. It's going to be in Altus Plateau at this church here where the little dude symbol is. This is where you're going to be able to pick up the Nagakiba and then kill Eleonora and get Eleonora's Pole Blade and then the Purifying Crystal Tear, which is good to block the phase 2 ability of the Moog fight. So if you have made it to the mountaintop of the Giants where you encounter him at the first site of Grace and Shabriri has taken over his body, the Nagakiba is going to be the last place that you talk to him at. So that's either going to be the Seaside Rune side of Grace if you never talk to him at all. It could be the Murkwater one. So you need to check all the spots where he could be in order to figure out where that Nagakiba is going to be depending on how far you are in that quest line. Alright, so to get the Flower Blooms twice, Ash of War, you're going to want to start from the Moth Rune side of Grace, and the path is going to look like this. You're going to see a little cave over in that body of water that's above the Moth Rune side of Grace, and then you're going to run. It's going to take you through like another cave that's going to go underneath and take you into the Rao Ruins base. Then you're going to make a little run, wrap around, and there's going to be a Teardrop Scarab that you get this off of. Alright, so Poison Moth flight location is going to be over in Caelid. If you go down south to like the Dragon Communion side of Grace, but you need to make sure that it's nighttime because you have to kill a Knight's Cavalry Rider that's down here, so make sure you're strong enough to take them out before you attempt this, but that's going to be how you get the Poison Moth's flight, Ash of War. So now I'm going to show you guys a couple of alternative talismans you can get if you're early on in the game and you're going like the Poison Moth's flight build. So you can get this Winged Sword Insignia over here in Seathwater Cave. It is just a lesser version of the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, so it's going to go up to 10% instead of the 13%, but that one is going to be fairly solid when it comes to just like an early game talisman. Just run past everything. All you have to do is get to the very end of this and then kill the boss. It's a Clean Rotten Knight, I believe, and if you can do that, then you will have your talisman, but there is quite a bit of poison in here, so be careful about that. And a lot of poison abilities, but here's the room. Alright, so this is going to be how we get the Dragoncrest Shield Talisman. This is just going to be an easier version of the Dragoncrest Greatshield Talisman to get if you're early on in the game. Keep in mind, if you're early on in the game, you're only going to have a couple talisman slots anyway, so this one's pretty good if you're struggling with how much damage you're taking. The Winged Sword Insignia is good to run in tandem with it. If you just want to run both of those, you could also do something like Radagon's Sword Seal, which is over in Fort Faroth. So yeah, not too bad at all, but yeah, because you are going to have limited talisman slots, so just keep that in mind if you're early on in the game, but that's okay. It's a-okay, because you will get more as time goes on, and as time goes on, you'll be able to get access to, like the Lord of Blood's Exultation. Like, by the time you even get to, like, I believe it's your 4th talisman slot, you'll be able to get to the Lord of Blood's Exultation and like the Kindred of Rot's Exultation and stuff like that, because you have to go through Lindel in order to unlock that. Guys, just to show you what the stat distribution is going to look like, this is at level 150, so you have 60 Dex, 18 Strength, 25 Faith, 32 Arcane, 40 Vigor, 20 Mind, and 25 Endurance with 9 Intelligence, because you don't really need intelligence for anything. This is with Confessor being the starting class. Keep in mind, Arcane does not scale up things by that much. I just put it in there just because it gives us a little bit more bleed, a little bit more poison, but you alternatively can put the extra points from Arcane and you can actually throw them into Strength if you just want a little bit more upfront physical damage, which is totally fine. But then we want to have 25 Faith just to make sure that we can cast things like Golden Vow, and you want to have 20 Mind just so you can cast Spirit Summons. With that in mind, with the Spirit Summon that I'm going to recommend, it's just going to be the Mimic tier. Overall, I believe it's still going to be the best Spirit Ash, mainly because you can use other stuff, but once you get into New Game Plus, the Mimic tier is really the only thing that works decently well. In New Game Plus, it's just, I don't know, everything just seems to die too fast, and even then, the Mimic tier is still going to die fast on some bosses like Radon, but you'll find that most of the other Spirit Summons die extremely easily in the New Game Plus setting, which kind of blows. That's why I just tell people, you know, go get Mimic tier and just use that pretty much the whole time, because you can change if you're in your first playthrough, and you can use a lot of them, but most of them, like the majority of Spirit Summons, will just fall off completely once you get into New Game Plus. Probably something they need to fix, but yeah. So to get to where I'm at, you can see, if you notice at the beginning I showed you on the map, that was where the crater is. You have to go down the crater to get to where I'm at. If you don't have the crater unlocked yet, it's over by Fort Height, and there'll be a little marker on your map once you unlock it. You do that by by killing Star Surge Radon. It'll have a little marker over by Fort Height and Limgrave that'll tell you where it is. And there's also, I believe, a little animation that happens after you kill Radon that kind of hints at it. But if you don't know how to get the Radon fight open, all you have to do is go activate the Lift Odectus, and that will do that. You get one half at Fort Height, you get the other half of it at Fort Faroth, and then you just go to that lift, and then boom, and there's at the top of those little keeps in a chest. So keep on rolling, and the one at Fort Faroth is literally up the first ladder, so it's very easy to get. Make sure you do have a Stone Sword key though to get this Mimic tier. Not a whole lot of danger really, it's just a lot of running. And then kill this person, and your Mimic tier is going to be in this chest, like so. There you go. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for this build. I hope you enjoyed. It is incredibly fun. You know, I really like the idea of Poison, but it was just so rough to try to make good. But with these weapon skills, it actually can be pretty solid. Otherwise, Poison, unfortunately, is pretty meh. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching the video. Like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you next time. And leave a comment below, you know, sharing some of your experiences if you decide to use this build, how it goes, or of other builds you'd like to see in the future. Thanks.